At your local Good Neighbor Pharmacy, we are shaped by the unique communities in which we serve, and we look forward to serving you every single day at every location that we're proud to offer, including Pharmacy Express in Glasgow, Parkland Drugs in Cave City, Metcalf Drugs in Edmonton, and Clark Drugs in Munfordville. We would like to thank you all for being our good neighbors and for your support and business during this past unprecedented year. Find Pharmacy Express online at mygnp.com and find the Empty Nest at Pharmacy Express online on Facebook.
It was funny. I guess I was 22 and one of my friends worked here at the stockyard in Glasgow, and she said, "There's a guy that I want you to meet." And I said, "Oh, I'm not ready for a relationship." And she said, "Well, just meet him. Like, let's go a double date." And I was like, "Okay." And so he pulled up in this big truck and wore a cowboy hat and dipped, and I was like, "Oh no, he doesn't wear that all the time, does he?" Just totally not my type, but we ended up dating, and we had a long distance relationship from Glasgow, and he lived in Monticello, but we spent a lot of time here at the stockyard in Glasgow. He would come here on Monday nights and buy cattle, and I would come sit with him just to spend some time with him. And so yeah, we met here at the stockyard, and kind of being around cattle was our life. You know, we spent a lot of time on the farm and late hours out there.
Brittany's relationship blossomed, and before she knew it, she had moved with Alan Ramsey, where she would later become his wife and the mother to their children.
Really, we dated for about a year, and I decided that I was going to move to Monticello with him, and so I did that. I worked in his office, and yeah, we had a good life. In 2015, we welcomed our little girl into the world, Layla Alin, and I mean, she was just a light to our life, really. And so we got married shortly after that. And I always, I loved him so much, I would have followed him wherever. But he always had a dream of moving back to Danville, Kentucky, where he's from. And so we made that happen in 2016.
The couple moved to Alan's home farm in Danville, where he grew up, and his parents had built a log cabin there on several acres of land. That's where the couple established their forever home.
And just the first night, it's kind of a funny thing, but the first morning of waking up in our forever home, I found out that we were expecting our second, a little boy.
The couple was excited. They had their own home, and they had a little girl. Their perfect family was complete, so they invited their family and friends over for a housewarming party, but they kept the news of their second little one quiet. But 10 days later, Brittany's world changed forever.
It's weird the way God does things. It's funny how things are positioned. And so that morning is a morning I'll never forget. I had gotten up early, and me and my little girl, we drove around. She loved looking at the cows and stuff. And so we drove up this lane that we had with cattle on both sides. And we stopped and talked to Alan, and he said, "I love you guys," and gave us a hug and a kiss, and played and tickled her for a little bit while she was in the front seat of the car. And I told him that I would get her down for a nap, and I would come to his little office building there right beside the house and help him around lunchtime to get things organized in the office. And so I had laid her down for a nap, and I texted him and I said, "Hey, I'm going to the office," and he said, "Okay, I'll meet you there." And I had just walked in and sat down, and I got a call from one of his work hands saying, "Alan's been hurt, hurry, we're at the barn." And so I'll never forget, I just felt like my heart had dropped. You could tell in his voice that something was really, really wrong. And so it's just like one of those things you don't even realize. I happened to grab the baby monitor from my little girl and my cell phone, and I just ran down there. The baby monitor didn't even reach that far, but I ran down there, and he was laying in the barn face up. And so when I got to him, I said, what happened? And he said, "I don't know." And that's the only thing he ever said to me. And so I've had, I was a CNA for years, and went through EMT training. And so I immediately was starting to do all the things that I knew that I needed to do, and I was kind of searching. I didn't know what was going on. There was a tractor running behind me, and so I told his work hand to turn the tractor off. I didn't know if he had fallen or if he had gotten run over by the tractor. I just had no idea. And so I started his breathing was shallow, and so I raised up his shirt so I could see if his chest was rising and falling, and that's when I seen a bullet hole in his stomach. And so the guy said, "Brittany, be careful, I think he's got a gun." And so I looked in he was wearing a hoodie that morning. It was in September, and so it was a little chilly, and he had a hoodie on, and he had a gun that was in the holster. And so I took the holster and the gun and set it next to me, and I had to give him CPR a few times. And in the meantime, was talking to paramedics and on the other phone with his family to hurry up and get there to help me. And so it was like a time frame where it just felt like forever, before the ambulance had got there.
Alan was transported to Ephraim McDowell Hospital from the barn in Danville. He was stabilized and moved to Lexington thereafter, an emergency surgery. He later died surrounded by his family and his young bride, who was the mother of his daughter, but also to his little boy that he would never meet.
There's times when, in the grieving process, you go through a time when you're just mad. I remember cursing at God and yelling and just very angry. And then you go through a time when you're like sad. And then you go through where you're happy, and just, it's kind of like a emotional roller coaster that you go through. And I remember praying that I wouldn't be pregnant. I remember being like, "God, I can't do this by myself. Like, why am I pregnant? Why are you doing this to me?" And so I remember at that point in time just being devastated, not wanting to bring a child into the world without my husband, because I didn't know how I was going to do it by myself. But the Lord had greater plans, and so I brought Sage into the world, and immediately he was a spitting image of his dad. It's kind of scary. He looks so much like him, and he has just been such a huge blessing into my life, just as a constant reminder of just God's faithfulness, and a part of Alan is always with me,
Brittany was a young mother and knew she couldn't do it alone. Nights were particularly hard when she was taking care of their little boy. She took to praying and asked God for someone to come into her life.
I prayed for a long time that the Lord, even early on, that the Lord would bless me and my children with a man that would allow me to grieve Alan, because grief is, it's kind of, I call it grief spasms, because you never know when it's going to come and it'll take over, and it's not something that goes away. When you love someone, it doesn't go away just because you love someone else. And so I prayed that the Lord would bring someone into my life that would be understanding with that, and that would accept me, and that most importantly would accept and love my children, because my situation was hard. I wasn't older. I was 26 years old, and so I knew that I wouldn't be alone for forever. And so I prayed for my husband now, and I knew that the Lord would bless us with him.
Come here, you clapping. Say yay.
I really think it was a God thing, because I just felt like this tug to message him, which was totally out of the normal for me. And I remember asking my friends, like, should I message this guy? Is this weird that I do this? And they're like, what's the worst that can happen? And so, I really just feel like it was a God thing, that I just had this feeling that I should just message this guy. And if he thought I was weird, then he just wouldn't respond, and then whatever,
We both had kind of been through a trauma, so to speak, and we were both kind of lost, in a sense. We always say we were two lost people who didn't know we needed each other,
Mm-hmm.
And then we found each other and realized, hey, this is what was supposed to happen. But it was one of those situations where it was very hard to find someone on your maturity level that had the same responsibilities as you, as far as, maintaining a career and raising children and just being, having to be very mature. and we both shared that, and so we did. We had that in common to talk about.
Yeah.
And then just natural chemistry too to go along with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Until we finally decided, okay, let's meet in person and see if we actually like each other. And then that's kind of how it came to be. We had a date and decided to have another date, and decided to just do life together.
Having a blended family at first wasn't easy, and honestly, some days it's still not easy.
We learned together. I think we grew and we learned together through that, and there were a lot of hard times. It was difficult, learning how to sort of share that place in her heart, and learning how to deal with the fact that she could love more than one person, which is an unusual circumstance to deal with. There's not really a manual with how to go into that, and so you just kind of have to hold on to the Lord and just learn together.
And though their daddy is no longer here, Wesley says he respects and will uphold the memory of Alan forever.
At the end of the day, it's we're a family, and I am their father, but I also have to have that respect that they have another father. That they don't know, but his memory needs to be kept alive for them, and I respect that very much. And I think we do a pretty good job of that.
Yeah. No matter what you're going through, if you put your faith and trust in the Lord, it's going to be it's going to get better. It's not always going to be this hard. It's not always going to feel like you are at the bottom.
This is Brittany Ramsey-Dyer.
You do the work that you need to do on yourself, and one day you'll be standing at the top and realize that all of your pain had a greater purpose.
And this has been Meet My Neighbor.